on Mike's Mother's Day contest. Is there a mom in your life who truly inspires you? A mom who has overcome challenges and obstacles while still showing up every day with love and strength. Maybe your own mom went above and beyond in ways you'll never forget. We want to hear her story. Send us your nominations and we'll share them on our special Mother's Day episode. After hearing these incredible stories, our listeners will vote for the mom they feel deserves to win a $100 gift card to a local restaurant. Let's celebrate the amazing moms in our community. We can't wait to read your stories. All entries must be submitted by April 25th, 2026. Send your entries to us via email, momsonmikes@gmail.com, or through our Facebook page at Moms on Mikes, or Instagram at Moms on Mikes Podcast. Hello and welcome to Moms on Mikes. I'm Joanne.
I'm Cash.
And I'm Sophia.
This episode we are talking about Tania Marie Murry. January 20th, 1983, Tania had attended her morning grade 1 class at Grosvenor Elementary School in West Edmonton. She said goodbye to her friends as she left to walk home for lunch, but she was never seen again. Her home was only a block and a half from school. Tania would meet her little brother, John, who was in kindergarten at the time, and they would walk home together where their aunt, Vera, waited for them. Only this day, her 5-year-old brother, John, waited for Tania, but she never showed up. So John arrived home alone. No trace of Tania has ever been found. No remains, no school books, items of clothing, nothing.
Tania's aunt Vera Stortz, with her 9-month-old baby Dustin, was babysitting that day. She had been babysitting Tania and her brother John for about 3 years. The day started off typical as any other day. Her common-law husband, Gary Rothermo, dropped her off at the Murrells 10426 145th Street home at about 7:30 a.m. Tania and John were both eating cereal. The TV was on, recalls Vera. Jack Murrells was heading out to his job with a home builder while Mom, Vivian, was having a lively conversation with Tania. Tania thought what she was wearing was too tight. I remember Vivian saying, "Oh, wear whatever you want." Tania settled on her black Harley-Davidson t-shirt and green corduroy pants. Vera remembers that Tania said she couldn't find her backpack. In the end, Vivian put her school stuff into a plastic Safeway bag and taped it up. Vivian then left for her manager's job at a nearby bakery. It was just after 8 a.m. Vera asked Tania and John, 5, what they wanted for lunch. They said macaroni and cheese. She hugged them both and said, "Love you." Then they walked out the front door and arrived minutes later at Grosvenor School.
Vera tended to Dustin and did a few household chores. Just before 11 a.m., she started to get lunch ready. About 11:20 a.m., the front door opened. Vera called out, "Tania and John? It's just me. Tania's not with me." John Murrell was alone. Because Tania had always been punctual, Vera called Vivian to let her know Tania had not arrived. John told Vera that the other students said Tania had gone to a friend's home. She bundled up Dustin and they hurried to a house at the end of the street. She knocked on the door to see if Tania was there. She wasn't. "By this time, I was quite worried," said Vera, who returned to the Merrill home. Vivian had already arrived and Jack was on the way. Vivian checked out the school and found nothing. Once school resumed after lunch and Tania was not in class, the afternoon descended into full panic mode. The temperature outside was -11 Celsius. The police were called. Vivian was digging up pictures of Tania. Everybody was going door to door in the neighborhood looking for Tania.
Yeah, that's pretty cold for a little one to be out there by themselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as we know, like -11 is not like freezing, but it's cold enough.
I see little ones walking to school in like -25, so.
Right? But I still think it's cold enough that after a while, right? After a while of being outside with -11, it's pretty chilly. So if she's been outside this whole afternoon, she'd be cold. She'd be going inside. Okay, it was later determined that Tanya didn't wait for John's class to finish. Police believe she left alone out the east doors about 11:10 a.m. Tanya's best friend, Brandy Jo Iwashko, told the Saturday Sun that Tanya left from the north doors and was walking alone with money to a nearby 7-Eleven store. The police officer who arrived at the scene asked for a photograph of Tanya and a description of what she was wearing. He started going door to door and asking people if they had seen the child that day. The situation became more worrisome when Tanya didn't come back to the house by that evening. Her parents hoped maybe she was having an unannounced sleepover at a friend's house, even though having a sleepover unknown to her parents was unlike Tanya. It was better than the alternative. Yeah, I gotta say, kids don't just decide they're going to have a sleepover at a friend's house,
No.
right? I mean, I get where the mom's coming from. Like, you would think of everything possible, right? But I've never known a kid to just up and
Yeah.
decide,
Yeah.
right? Even to go to a friend's house after school, I mean, at least with my kids, they would still check in with me and ask first.
Absolutely. Things were a little different in the 80s, though, I guess, right?
That's true, but even, I mean, I was young in the 80s and I still would
Yeah.
I still would have checked in like after school. I wouldn't have just not come home.
Yeah.
Like if we were out hanging out with friends at one person's house and then decided to move to another person's house, we wouldn't check in then.
Right.
And even if we were outside playing and then we decided to go to someone's house, we might not have checked in then either. But I still think coming home from school, you would check in at least. You got to drop your shit off at the very least, right? Like, you don't want to take your school bag around. So when Tanya did not show up for school the next morning, many began to believe something horrible had happened. The search for Tanya involved hundreds of personnel, including police officers, friends, relatives, and citizen volunteers. The ground search was the largest up to that point in Edmonton's history, with hundreds of city blocks, including alleys, ravines, and the neighborhood where the Murrell family lived, checked by those on foot and by vehicle. Despite the extensive searches, her clothing and school books were never located, neither were any witnesses. Only her Safeway bag was located at the school. According to some of the children who attended Grosvenor Elementary School, they had seen a girl being chased by a German Shepherd, but this has not been substantiated, and it is currently unknown if the girl seen was Tanya. That's pretty random too, hey? For the kids to know it was a German Shepherd, like for them to know the breed of the dog,
Right.
but not who the kid was. I mean, unless they knew her personally, I guess, but I don't, that just seems very random.
But they're all in the same school, so you would have seen them at some point.
Yeah, like even if you didn't know their name, you could say, like, I know she went here, or if the police showed the kids a picture of her, you'd think they'd be able to identify. I mean, who knows? Eyewitnesses are not reliable at all.
And have they ever checked the 7-Eleven since her friend said she was going there?
Yeah, I honestly couldn't find any record of any statement from the staff at 7-Eleven.
Detectives were flooded with tips about the case, but few turned out to be any significance. Both of Tanya's parents were ruled out as suspects as they were both at work at the time of her disappearance. However, due to their drug use and partying lifestyle, investigators were of the belief that someone who was acquainted with the family could have possibly been involved. This theory was further spurred on by community rumors, which said Jack had owed hundreds of dollars to a small-time drug dealer for some marijuana he'd purchased. Not long after Tanya vanished, the family dog Harley disappeared. However, foul play was not suspected. They eventually concluded that Tanya was abducted by a non-family member while she was walking.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you here because this fucking annoys me so much. For the little girl to go missing and then shortly after the family dog to go missing, but they're going to say, we don't suspect foul play. What? Really? Like,
But why the dog?
there is some theories. She really loved the dog, and the person that is kind of suspect number one, the theory is that that person came and got the dog to keep her happy. I just find it really suspicious. First of all, if any dog goes missing, how can the police definitively say it wasn't foul play, regardless of the circumstances, whether the child is missing first or not? You don't know. Like, sure, they could have run off, but they also could have been taken out of a backyard. Like, shit like that happens all the time. I don't think there's any definitive way. It's not on camera because it's 1983, right? So I don't know. It just kind of bugs me that they're like, nope, no foul play, really. And if there truly is no foul play, that's weird as fuck. Like, that's just weird.
But the 80s, it's where we caused trouble and there's no evidence of it.
Thank God. I'm just saying, I am sure glad all my shenanigans are not on TikTok.
Hundreds of city blocks were checked for any trace of Tanya. Concerned citizens scoured the entire city looking for her, and helicopter searches also took place. Posters depicting Tanya and her description were put up all around the area and in store windows. A private donation was also held, which garnered $30,000, which was used as a reward for the safe return of Tanya.
That's a lot, right? That's a lot of money too. Like if you think 1983 money, that's significant and kind of weird that
They
it's
went to
just,
drugs though, so
yeah, but I mean, how many people could honestly say they could come up with $30,000 to donate as a reward for someone else's kid going missing? Like if it's your own kid, you'll take out a second mortgage, you'll do whatever, but to come up with it for somebody else's kid.
but being a private donation, you don't know who it is. It could be
That's what
them
I mean.
themselves.
No, if it was the family, that it would have said the family. I don't think they would have said it was a private donation if it was the family themselves, right?
Yeah, but like not like the parents themselves. It could have been like in the family.
You don't think they would have said the
Not
family?
not necessarily
Why keep it private though?
because the parents are drug dealers.
I guess I'm just thinking like I gotta stop thinking from today. I'm like, it's just marijuana. Who cares? That's not a huge deal. But I guess in
But in
83 that
the
was, yeah,
80s, it was like a huge
yeah,
deal, right?
that's
And
true.
they don't want to be associated with it or whatever. They just put it as private.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I always forget that it wasn't legal. It just seems so silly now, I guess. It's
Marijuana was like cocaine, right?
yeah, it was
It
the
was pretty
gateway
serious.
drug.
Yeah.
And
The
then they
devil's
realized,
lettuce.
right? My God.
Vera, with her baby Dustin, joined the hundreds of others in the search that night. We were involved in the search 24/7, said Vera. The search for Tanya is said to be by far the biggest in Edmonton history. According to reports, over 1,900 square blocks were searched by police and between 300 and 400 volunteers. The searches also included alleys and ravines in those areas. The door-to-door search for Tanya is said to be one of the biggest as well. But despite the extensive search efforts and the reward, no trace of Tanya or any evidence of what happened to her was ever found. The only thing was her Safeway bag, which was still at school.
News stations quickly picked up on the case, which made national and international headlines in the United States. While it was suspected that Tanya was abducted, her parents were the focus of the investigation in the beginning. As is often the case when a child goes missing, they were both at work at the time. Vivian worked at a bakery approximately 1.5 kilometers away from their home, and Jack worked as a carpenter and built new homes for Aldred homes in the south side of Edmonton. Due to their strong alibis, they were eliminated as suspects, but investigators felt someone in their life may have been responsible for the disappearance. They were also given polygraph exams and passed, and were open to any and all interview requests given to them. Jack and Vivian were described by acquaintances as party hard folk who lived on booze, pot, rock music, and their Harley-Davidson motorcycles. One family acquaintance called the two Everyone's our friend, people. Rumors regarding Jack circulated that he owned a small-time drug dealer hundreds of dollars for some marijuana he purchased. It was considered that Tania might have been taken in retaliation for the unpaid debt, but investigators don't believe this to be the reason for her disappearance.
I mean, they sound great. They sound like they're fun, right? Like, so they like their motorcycles and
Mhm.
a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of rock music. Sounds like
And
a
a
party.
couple $100 isn't.
No one's kidnapping their kid
No
for
one's kidnapping someone
like,
for a couple. Like the consequences to that
right?
for a couple hundred is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing these are things said by people that don't necessarily understand their lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And they're just, oh, those bad folks that doing the drinking and the pot, riding their motorcycles, like they're just some old busybody,
Busybodies.
yeah, on the street just causing shit. 1983 Karens. The family was targeted by cruel pranksters. One man from Ontario called Tanya's family and said he would return the child safely in exchange for $40,000. The man was located and he was not involved in the case. He was charged with an attempted extortion and was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the crime. Good, you fucker. Who does that? What kind of psycho? Jesus, if you want money, go to work. Go get a fucking job. Ah, fucking people. Most investigators suspect that Tanya was taken by a sexual predator and probably murdered afterwards. A man who was formerly an acquaintance of the Murrell family is considered the primary suspect in Tanya's abduction. The man was a 31-year-old violent alcoholic. He once smashed a man's face with a beer bottle while playing cards. He also once turned off the ignition in the Murrell's family station wagon while it was running, which resulted in the car going into a ditch. According to her family and those who knew him, he took Tanya and John camping with just him and the 2 children. He also wrote a very creepy poem about a love he could never be around. That Jesus Christ. He also wrote a very creepy poem about a love that could never be around the time of Tanya's disappearance. And here's that creepy poem for y'all. Though the day be far away, or the night just closing in, remembering the fun they had that day and feelings possessed within, gazing into the distant stars, the plans they made so bright and new. As they walked along that deserted beach, all their problems were so few. The time alone, just themselves, warm new feelings, so tender and strange. Nervous thoughts of love, of making love, passionately, their lives would change. Undisturbed, but for the waves, closely embraced on the beach they lay. The summer ended much too soon, and for them, their final day. Precious new feelings that they shared, knowing soon would have to end. The tears flowed with their final kiss. It was their first love. They couldn't pretend. Often they wished to turn back time. Oh, for time to have stood still. I, to turn back time, but time goes on, it's nature's will. To return someday, they said they would, but I knew we never could. Huh, gross. That's disturbing. If he seriously wrote that for the little girl, dude, psycho.
According to police reports, the man does not have a solid alibi. He was allegedly working outdoors on the morning of January 20th, but he can't independently prove where he was at the time of Tanya's presumed abduction. He and his wife moved away from the area to Ontario a few months after the abduction. The man later had a daughter whom he named after Tanya. At one point, police interrogated the man for approximately 11 hours regarding his possible involvement in her disappearance. He apparently didn't deny abducting Tanya, but he is reported as saying, "Fuck you, you ain't got a body." He was also given a polygraph exam, which was deemed inconclusive. Police said that at that point, they had enough evidence to file criminal charges. They offered the man a plea deal of second-degree murder, but he refused the deal. He never faced any criminal charges for Tania's disappearance because police felt that while they did have enough evidence to file murder charges against the suspect, they felt they lacked the proper evidence to gain a conviction in the case. Investigators also considered him a person of interest in the 1979 death of Kevin Reamer. Kevin was 9 years old when he disappeared from the Elk Island National Park in Alberta on June 29, 1979. He went missing after he wandered away from his family's campsite.
You know, these fucking cops, they feel they have enough to charge him. So what? Charge him. Let a jury decide. Why risk it? Like, I don't. That is infuriating.
And if he's wanted for another, or like a person of interest for something else, wouldn't that be
Right?
kind of like a red flag?
You would think so. You would think that, the police would at least say, well, let's put him to trial. We've got enough evidence to arrest him. Let the courts decide. Go from there. That's infuriating. I mean, for him to say, "Fuck you, you ain't got a body," he may as well have said, "Yeah, all right, I did it. You just don't have the evidence to prove it," right? Like, that's frustrating.
A few years after his disappearance, Kevin's remains were located in a wooded area not too far away from where he was last seen. His death was ultimately ruled an accident at the time. However, First Officer Ken Chambers, who was part of the initial investigation into Kevin's disappearance, said that the location where the boy's remains were eventually located was searched beforehand and the body was not there. He said that most of the searching officers walked shoulder to shoulder and poked the ground with long sticks. Ken believes Kevin's body was placed in the location after the searches occurred. A detective who worked on the Murrell investigation attempted to contact the RCMP after hearing about Kevin's case and wanted to gain more information from the file. He found that the so-called Good Samaritan who contacted the police in 1979 about Kevin's family frantically searching for him was the same man suspected in Tania's disappearance. The suspect also worked at the park in 1979. It's unclear if this is true or not. The man has not been named a suspect in the case. Vivian and Jack refused to believe the man was involved in Tania's disappearance, saying that he was not capable of harming the child. Friends of Vivian reported that they would tell her not to let this man near her two children, but that she didn't feel he was capable of doing anything malicious to her kids. However, in the 1990s, Vivian told her friends she has since changed her views of the man and wishes she would never have let him near her children. She also said she felt that he might have been ultimately responsible for Tania's fate. The man passed away from cancer in August of 2016. His wife stated that while they were estranged from each other, she refused to believe he had anything to do with Tania's disappearance and believes he is innocent of any involvement or crime he's accused of doing in relation to her disappearance, although he remains the only suspect in her disappearance who hasn't been ruled out.
I mean, come on, man. This guy called in about Kevin's disappearance. He worked at the same park. How much more do you need? It seems pretty clear. Either that or it's one hell of a coincidence, but Tania's family does not believe she is deceased. Most of her relatives and family members believe she was taken by someone who couldn't have a child of their own. Vivian said that Tania's abductor would have had to take her by force because Tania wouldn't even get into a friend's car without her parents' permission. Investigators said that based on Tania's size, she could have been taken by anyone. But whether it was someone she knew or a complete stranger remains to be seen. There were two possible sightings of Tania that were given to police after her disappearance. One was from the same time that Tania believed to have been taken. The sighting was reported by a realtor, and he told police he might have seen Tania in the company of an elderly woman that day. The woman and child were witnessed crossing 144th Street near 104th Avenue, and according to the man, the child appeared to be unwilling to go with this woman. He said the child appeared to fall constantly and that the woman was dragging or helping the child constantly. The woman and child have never been located, and it's considered an unsolved lead in the case. Some students in the elementary school recall seeing a girl getting chased by a German Shepherd, like we said, on the same day. Investigators don't know if the girl being chased was Tanya or not. Vivian and Jack were extremely committed and devoted to finding their long-lost daughter. They contacted over 30 missing children's organizations across North America. A month after Tanya was abducted, they created the Tania Murry Missing Children Society. It was the first agency in Canada to deal with the issue of missing children. The organization was to help assist families of missing or abducted children. The ways in which it would help included providing expertise to families, public support, and funding for the searches. The organization helped to spread the photographs of missing children by plastering them on the sides of shampoo bottles, milk cartons, and posters, which were spread around the continent. By 1986, about 100 missing children had been located with the help of the organization. It was federally incorporated as a nonprofit organization in October of 1985. Sadly, the organization went defunct in the late 1980s due to the financial issues after the society attempted to advertise photos of missing children on gift boxes of mixed nuts. The organization ended up getting stuck with 36,000 boxes of unsold nuts. That is the worst fucking reason for that foundation to go under. What the hell, people? Why didn't you buy the damn nuts? Like, that's just, I mean, it's unfortunate. I'm not trying to make light of it. That's just, what a shitty reason for it to get defunct, right?
Tanya's family ended up moving to Kelowna, British Columbia due to nasty rumors about them which were untrue. In November of 1985, Vivian gave birth to Alicia Murrell. The stress of Tanya's disappearance was ultimately too much for her parents. They tried to find solace in drinking and using drugs. Unfortunately, they ended up contracting hepatitis C, which would cause major health problems for them later in life. Jack and Vivian divorced from one another in 1990s, and Jack moved to Ontario with Alicia. He lost a leg as a result of his health problems and passed away from kidney failure in 2005. Vivian continued to hope for her daughter's return until she ultimately passed away in 2011. John Murrell was deeply affected by his older sister's disappearance. The two were extremely close to one another, and after she went missing, much of the attention went towards finding Tanya. John officially died of a methadone overdose in his room at an Edmonton halfway house in January 2015. He was 37 years old. Alicia said, John's life took a tragic turn on January 24th when he drank a large amount of methadone tucked away in a coworker's truck while at a floor installation job site. He went to grab a couple of apples for the two of them, but he also found the methadone and drank it. He just wanted to get high, said Alicia, adding she was told the coworker was taking the methadone as a painkiller after hip surgery. Alicia said John's coworker took him to the Royal Alexandra Hospital, where John was told that if he left, he would die. The nurses were crying, but John did not take them seriously. John eventually convinced his coworker to drive him back to the halfway house before his 11 p.m. curfew.
That's so sad. I mean, that poor kid, man. How, like, obviously the parents, like, a lot of the attention is going to go into looking for their daughter. But to be 5 years old and in that situation, that's heartbreaking.
He was convinced he could just sleep it off. He signed in, went to his room, and was found dead the next morning, said Alicia, adding that her brother would have also been violating the drug and alcohol ban attached to his parole conditions. I would have told my brother that being in jail is better than being dead, said Alicia, 30, who lives with her husband and two children in Niagara Falls, Ontario. John had been in and out of prison since his early 20s and had battled drug addictions through most of his adult life. He was released from a BC prison in late December and came straight to Edmonton to try to make a fresh start in life. He was featured in an Edmonton Sun article about his missing sister's cold case just 4 days before he died. Alicia continues to search for her sister, whom she never got the opportunity to meet. She has 2 children of her own, whom she has taught about stranger danger. She works as a nurse, and every year on the anniversary of Tania's disappearance, she and her children go to Niagara Falls and they throw a red rose over the falls. She says she will continue to do this until Tania returns home. Investigators have stated that the search for Tania is ongoing and open. They have stated it will never be closed until she is located. In the summer of 2008, a house located approximately 20 blocks away from where Tania's house was located in 1983 had its basement excavated and searched for any trace of Tania. A tip sent to police indicated that the woman who lived there was a playmate of the child and that she became suspicious of a hole in the basement floor. Unfortunately, searches turned up nothing.
In 2013, Brandy Jo Awashko was 6 years old at the time, came forward to police claiming she was standing just outside the north doors of Grosvenor School when her best friend Tania walked up to her. Tania said she had some money and she was going to the 7-Eleven for lunch. Tania asked Brandy Jo if she wanted to come with her, but she turned Tania's offer down because she had gotten into trouble from her mother for not waiting for her brother Peter the previous day. I never did see any money and did not know if Tania was going to meet someone or not, said Brandy Jo. I do know she wasn't going home for lunch. She last saw Tania walking alone in a southwest direction towards 144th Street, away from the school, apparently towards the 7-Eleven, then located on Stony Plain Road at 147th Street. Tania was supposed to wait for her brother, John, to walk north on 144th Street with him to their home at 10426 145th Street. For 30 years, city police have believed Tania was walking towards her home when she was taken. Brandy Jo thought she told several people about her exchange with Tania, but there is no mention of Brandy Jo's recollection in the police files. The mystery was so unsettling for Brandy Jo that her parents moved the family to an acreage outside of Edmonton later in 1983. I ended up failing grade 3. I was a mess, said Brandy Jo, who turned to horror films at a young age as a form of therapy. So the cops were all looking in one direction when she possibly went in the other direction. I mean, that could have changed everything, right? Who knows?
As the best friend of Tania Murry, Brandy Jo still copes with vivid nightmares 4 decades after her disappearance. She keeps coming to me in my dreams, telling me she was killed, cut up, and her body parts scattered, said Brandy Jo. I also have had a dream where I walk into a basement and see a dead Tania hanging from a shower in my bathroom.
Oh my God.
That would be horrifying.
Yeah, very.
Right. I guess that's something we don't always think about really when like a child gets abducted or goes missing or whatever, but all their friends, how did they deal with it, right? Like even the little kids that are missing right now, how are their friends like Darius and Jack and Lily and Dustin, how are their friends coping with their just not knowing where their friend is gone, right? That's traumatic.
The nightmares began surfacing just a month after Tania disappeared. Although she has received counseling, she said she still has the dreams to this day. It is a terrible, terrible feeling, said Brandy Jo, who wishes her childhood playmate was alive but fears the worst. At the time of her disappearance, Tania was described as a smiling, happy girl who was liked by everyone and who took care of her brother. She used to love putting on her mom's high heels and dressing up. She was said to be quiet and content, but was also known to love dancing and singing. She would often be seen playing in the sandbox in her backyard or playing with her Barbie dolls. She was also a good swimmer at the time of her disappearance. She loved animals and hoped to become a veterinarian when she grew up. Her abduction remained unsolved. Tanya's Aunt Vera and Gary raised Dustin along with 3 other sons. We were ultra paranoid when our boys were growing up. They had to report to us at all times, said Vera, who has 2 grandchildren. Now 52, she keeps busy with her family life and a retail job, but says the mystery of what happened to her niece constantly gnaws at her.
I think about Tania every day. I'm still hoping she comes home. Tania Murry was a little girl with a big smile and an even bigger voice. What I remember most about her is how loud she sang, says her aunt Vera Stortz. I remember being at school and the kids were singing "Oh Canada," and Tania was louder than anyone else. She just loved to sing. Tania, who had a German Shepherd dog named Harley, loved animals and wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. She also enjoyed the water at a very tender age. I often took her and her brother John to Fred Broadstock Pool during the summers. Tania was a good swimmer, says Vera. She was just a happy little girl, and I really miss her. I have no feeling that she is gone yet, because I don't know what happened to her, said Vera. Tania was blonde with hazel eyes and was last seen wearing a black Harley-Davidson t-shirt, green corduroy pants, blue and white winter coat with fur trim, and brown high boots. She has a birthmark the size of a quarter on her right temple, pierced ears, with the left hole higher than the right. Police investigations regarding Murrell's whereabouts are currently ongoing. The EPS file number is 83-9284.
Wasn't the dog that the kids said they saw a little girl being chased by a dog, wasn't that a German Shepherd?
Yeah.
If she had a German Shepherd, I mean, obviously a different German Shepherd is different, so it could totally act different, but something tells me if you've got one, you don't usually run from them.
Well, you know
Right?
what? If a German Shepherd is chasing me, regardless of whether or not I have one, I'd probably be running.
Yeah, no, that's true. I just mean, like,
Right? Like,
how often are dogs running loose around? Like, it's just a very
it's
coincidence, right?
often.
Well, who's to say that they weren't playing too? Like she was running from the dog because they were in a playful mood.
That's true. It just seems very strange that she happens to have a German Shepherd. A girl was seen being chased by a German Shepherd, and then shortly after she goes missing, her German Shepherd goes missing. Like, I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it. That just seems odd.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you're right though, Sophia. If a German Shepherd's chasing you, you're gonna fucking run. That's,
You're
I
gonna
mean,
run.
I wasn't thinking of it like that way. Like I was thinking like, you've got a German Shepherd, you would just love another German
Oh
Shepherd.
yeah. Just come kiss me and cuddle me and love me, even
Right?
though it looks like you're gonna eat me.
No sharp kisses, please. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, my bad. Police say Frank Arthur Hall, then 22 years old, was the person who killed Liobitisha Topic in 1971. Through relentless investigative work and advances in forensic technology, our major crime unit solved the decades-old mystery in 2019, said a news release from police. Now, following an internal review of the case, we are confirming that Frank Arthur Hall, then 22 years old, was the person who committed the horrific homicide. The case had been reopened 6 times since the 1970s, with hundreds of tips from across Canada and the US in 2015. Police revealed the profile of a suspect after new evidence 2 of Liobitisha's teeth and 1 adult tooth were found near where her body had been discovered. There have been more than 500 persons of interest in the case over the years. Police said in December of 2019 that they'd found the man responsible, but wouldn't release his name. They now say Hall died in February 2019. Police say Hall lived in the 1800 block of Drouillard Road, fewer than 2 kilometers down the street from the Topic home. According to investigators, Hall later moved to Edmonton and died there at age 70. Police say while they initially cited the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act as a reason not to name Hall, our new leadership team re-examined and ultimately overturned the decision, as all such cases will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis for public awareness. We are committed to operating with full transparency and serving the interests of the people of Windsor and Amherstburg, Chief Jason Belair said in the release. We hope the decision meets the public's need for knowledge and offers the opportunity for members of the community to provide further information that may assist with other investigations. It was a man's broken tooth that was key to finding out who was responsible for the death of Liobitisha, Topic's perplexing cold case. A man snatched Liobitisha in May 1971 as she played outside her Droulard Road home. Police found her body covered in blood with her teeth smashed and a leg broken early the next morning. She had been sexually assaulted. For the first time since the murder, police have revealed they found a man's broken tooth near Liobitisha's body. Constable Scott Chapman, who was working on the cold case, called it one of the most horrific in Windsor history.
She was absolutely brutally, violently attacked, he said, particularly considering she was a 6-year-old. There was a tremendous amount of force used on her. It's difficult to look at someone as innocent as a 6-year-old child and see what happened to her. It was May 14, 1971, about 5 years after the family moved to Windsor from Yugoslavia. Liobitisha's dad, Luca, was working afternoons. The children were playing outside as the sun's soft glow sank below the horizon. Paula, Liobitisha's mom, remembers about 10 kids, including Liobitisha and her 8-year-old brother, Michael, playing in a parking lot near her house at night at 1290 Droulard Road. Liobitisha, excited and out of breath from frolicking in the twilight, raced into the house. She come inside around 8 o'clock and say, can I take a candy? And I say, sure, said Topic. I said, don't stay out too long. Liobitisha took the candy and ran back outside. The last time I see her. A short while later, Topic called her children inside. Michael was there, but Liobitisha was gone. I say, where is she? A man had approached the kids from a restaurant across the street. Liobitisha was lured away, walking hand in hand with her killer, with the promise of $8 for help with a job. The man gave Michael a dime to ride his bike in the other direction. He last saw his sister between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. Topic searched all the way to Seminole Street. There was no trace of Liobitisha or the man who took her. I see a police car and stopped him, she said. I said somebody took my little girl. Within minutes, citizens and officers were swarming the area in one of the biggest police hunts in Windsor history. But while they were busy scouring streets, yards, and back alleys, Liobitisha was probably already dead. Police have previously said she was likely attacked and killed or left to die an hour after she disappeared. Around 1 a.m. on May 15th, an officer scanning yards with a flashlight found her behind the home of 1690 Hickory Road. The killer left Liobitisha's battered body near a garage not far from the gate to the back alley.
That's so sad.
Her face was covered in blood. The beating she took was so vicious that her right leg was broken and her teeth were busted. Police found 2 of them in the dirt near her body. About 4 hours later, Liobitisha disappeared. The police chief arrived at her parents' home. He said they found her, said Paula. I say, can I see her? And he says, I am sorry, she's dead. The little girl, she's so innocent. Police release a sketch based on a description from Michael, who remembered the killer as a thin-faced man with a slender build, blonde hair, and perhaps close to 6 feet tall. Michael's description, if accurate, put the predator in his teens or early 20s. The sketch turned up no clues. In the years since Liobatisha's death, police have questioned several hundred people, chasing down tips and leads from across Canada and the US. They kept piles of possible evidence, including Liobatisha's tiny scuff brown shoes, soil samples, and the little girl's teeth. They also kept additional evidence that helped police create a DNA profile. That profile was tested against a national data bank to compare it with the DNA of convicted offenders and crime scene profiles with unidentified perpetrators. For the first time ever, police have publicly said they found an adult male's front incisor tooth in the area where Liobatisha's body was found. Investigators said it appears the tooth was snapped off at the gum line. Investigators likely didn't tell the public about the tooth at the time because they were keeping it as holdback evidence.
Police say DNA evidence was crucial in establishing Hall as the person who murdered Liobatisha. Topic. Hall later moved from Windsor to Edmonton, Alberta, where he remained until his death at age 70. In February 2019, Windsor police initially declined to name Hall as the individual who murdered Topic, citing the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, but police say the new leadership team re-examined and ultimately overturned the decision. We are committed to operating with a full transparency and serving the interest of the people of Windsor and Amherstburg, said Police Chief Jason Belair. We hope this decision meets the public's need for knowledge and offers the opportunity for members of the community to provide further information that may assist with other investigations. Moving forward, police say all cases will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis for public awareness. Frank Hall and his family moved to the area. Tania Murry lived with her family in 1980. It has been stated that Frank Hall's children also attended Grosvenor School. The kids went to the school after Tania Murry went missing. They lived in the area of the school, but were too young to be in the school when she disappeared. Liobatisha Topic was also 6 years old when she was taken, lured away with the promise of money. Tanya's friend, Brandy Jo, claimed that Tania had told her she was going to 7-Eleven to spend money. So could these two cases be related?
They sound
right. They totally sound similar. I think that this Frank Hall learned from his mistakes that he made with, unfortunately, like I hate to put it that way, but with Liobatisha, and just did better next time. It's so hard to say. I think we have two very good suspects. I mean, unfortunately, they're both dead, so there'll never be real justice for Tania. I don't know. If I had to pick between the two, man, I think I would pick this Frank Hall guy. I think that family friend was gross, and I don't think that he should have ever been left alone with kids. Mm-hmm. And it's possible that he did do some things to Tania that he absolutely should not have. And if it wasn't for this Frank Hall guy, I would say it was definitely that family friend. However, the fact that Tania was heading to 7-Eleven and was right around the same age, and then this guy happens to be in the same area, I think my money's on this guy. What do you guys think?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Could be none of them.
I mean, that's true as well.
Right?
But I mean, I'll never feel bad suspecting an already proven child killer. Mm-hmm. Of killing another child, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm not going to worry too much about that guy. And then the other guy, they haven't named him. So it's not like any of their reputation is being tarnished by my suspicions. But the cases seem pretty similar. And the fact that this guy moved to Edmonton and right into that same area is...
Yeah, it's pretty sus.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully her sister gets some closure. It's a very sad event for her family and ended up destroying her whole family, really. So, yeah, it's a sad one. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay.
So that's it for Moms on Mics this week.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Moms on Mics Podcast, on TikTok at Moms on Mics, and join our Facebook group, Moms on Mics.
If anyone has any topics you would like us to cover, or if you have any questions or suggestions, you can email us at momsonmics@gmail.com or submit through our website, momsonmics.com.
We would also appreciate it if you could rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps the podcast move up on their charts so it gets more exposure. I hope you join us again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.